Hey everybody, Darren Yankee with Echo Y Farms. We've got some questions about building paddocks and things like that on our eShepherd collar system. So here I got the computer screen up. So we're looking at and doing a video from my phone to the computer, so it might be kind of blurry at times. I'm not sure how it's going to look. As you can see here, I got my scheduled moves for the day. These are all my scheduled moves just for today. But we're going to go ahead and start making a paddock. So right now, if you look over by the cattle, them are the orange dots. You can see each individual animal on here. You can see how this paddock was made before. It came all the way down. It was a straight line to the bottom edge here. But I have since started just making them wider and going narrower because I want to get over to this point here, which is a gateway. So I'm working the cattle down along here, and we're going to get them over to this gateway within the next couple days. And then once they get to that gateway, they're going to have access to this gateway back through here to get to the water source. Because right now, they got to go all the way to this corner right here. Is about a 10-foot wide gate that they got to go through. So they got to come from over here, go over through this gate, and all the way down. It's 3,000 feet to the water. So I'm just going to kind of cut the corner here and bring them down through here so I get an easier shot to the water. And they'll be able to go through both of them gates at the time. So anyways, we're going to make a fence. Here's all my fences. There's just pages and pages of fences, paddocks. We'll go down to the bottom and add a button, or create a paddock, I should say. So we're going to create. I'm going to go over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a box out here. I don't know if you can quite see it on the screen yet, you can't, but this paddock that is pink is 3/10 of an acre. And that is why I drew out the box. I need to know how much I'm allowing them per day. So that is 3/10 of an acre, and that's why I'm going to allow these 70 cow-calf pairs for 1 day's worth of feed is 3/10 of an acre. So I drew that exactly where I wanted it to be. And I am right next to my gateway. So today they won't be able to go through that gateway. Or tomorrow, I should say. This is tomorrow's setup. But the next day they'll be able to go through my gateway. But if I want to, which I'm probably going to end up doing here, is I could make this longer to include that gateway. So I'll make that longer. They'll get a little bit more than their 3/10. Then I'm going to make this kind of come down like that. As you can see, I have like a boot there. So that's 0.32 tenths of an acre. So 32 hundredths of an acre, tenths of an acre, 3.2 tenths, I guess you would call it. So I'm going to save that paddock, even though it won't. It says there's warnings and everything on here because there ain't a water source. But I'm just using this literally for a reference point, not for actual virtual fencing. That's my reference points. So now, since what we're doing in the winter months is we're just stretching our paddocks out. So we'll go back to beginning here. This is our water source right here. If you see my thumb, that is the watering point. That is our winter water cup. All these other water points along here are summer water points that are above groundwater lines. So they got to go all the way back to here. Now when we started off in this paddock was the 20th of November, and this was all full of narrow paddocks all the way through here, just like everything is over here. But after time, we go through and delete the old paddock lines, because the more paddock lines you have on here, the slower the app is. And we're not going to use them lines ever again, right? We're going to make new lines next time we come through this anyway. So we don't need them existing lines there anymore. And you can see here we have an exclusion zone. So we actually have the cattle so they cannot go into this chunk of woods. It's a grove of pine trees, so the cattle can walk either on this side of them or this side of them to get around these pine trees. So they cannot go through them. So they got to work their way all the way back up into here to get to their water. So that's how far they got to go for water. Like I say, it's over 3,000 feet right now. So back to making this paddock, we're going to click on this. Now what that does is brings up the last paddock, and you can see the last paddock is all pink. So that is where they can go, is whatever is pink. That's the last paddock of today. That's where they'll be at. So I'm going to click on that. I go down to the bottom here, I click copy. I copied that whole cell. So what I'm doing is I'm just stretching out these paddocks. You see I'm pulling this line ahead. I'm stretching that paddock out. So I went from 45 yards, or from 90 yards to 98 yards. So I'm going 8 yards in that one move is how much you're getting for our first move. And then I'll label this paddock as 1.14.1. So January 14th, paddock 1. And then I'll save that paddock. It all takes a little bit of time. You never want to force your software, your computer. You click it too many times or try hurrying things along, and you just end up with a lot of clicks that don't get you anywhere. So again, I'm going to go from 64 yards, probably let's go up to 71. So that's about 7 yards. I'm moving that one ahead. But you kind of get the gist of it, and it gets really easy as you keep going on how big and narrow to make these paddocks. At the end of the day, I'm not too concerned as long as I have 0.3 of an acre or whatever my goal is for the day, allotted 5 different times. It doesn't really matter how big I'm making my paddocks for each individual move. So this one I went ahead and labeled 1.14.2. So that's January 14th, paddock 2. And then I'll show you why that's important later on, that we're getting them labeled. Doesn't necessarily have to be in that order. That's how I label them. You can label them however you want to label them. So here again, we're going to make another paddock. This will be paddock number 3. And again, I'm just going to draw these lines in there. Doesn't matter how big they are. I already know my size of my paddock. 1.14.3 for paddock 3. Saving that one. Gotta wait for all the lines to pop back up on the screen. Click up here. That's the last paddock that we saved. Hit copy. So that's 3. Then I'm just gonna make this one a really small move. Move number 4. January 14th, paddock 4. Got it labeled. Hit save. Wait for my lines to come back up over here. Click. Now the first time I click, it brings up my paddock that's 0.3 acres. So I gotta click it again to get up the last paddock I had saved there. Hit copy again. Now this time I want to follow the outside of my other lines here because we know how big that area is. Like that, right? But now since this is my 5th paddock, and I'm up to my gateway here. So this is getting complicated now, folks, because we got my gateway right here. So I'll show you what we do then. We just go over here and we click off of these buttons. Like there, I got a button I'm clicking off of. Click off that button. Click this one off. Click that one off. Click that one off. And that one. And actually, I'm going to pull this line over this way because it's all internal fences. The white line here is all fencing, that's permanent fencing. So this whole area is not getting grazed. They can only graze, obviously, what is on this side of this fence. So that's why I can draw these virtual fences wherever I want to draw them and not have to worry about that. And this area here has already been grazed by the calves. So when they'll come through here, it's already been grazed off. So we don't got to worry about them eating a whole lot of this stuff. So by tomorrow night at 3 o'clock is my last move for the day, the cattle will come from here and be able to come into here and actually venture out of this gateway and make it a lot easier for them to have access all the way back to the watering point. So now before I get too carried away here, I got to go ahead and label this paddock as 1.14.5. Click Save. And then since we schedule all of our moves, that's what I'm going to show you today is how we go ahead and schedule these moves. So I click on the schedule button, which is just out of the screen here on my phone, I guess. But anyways, I hit the schedule button, I go to add schedule. I got to select my mob, got my cow mob. Virtual paddock, and then I type in 1.14. And that's what makes it really easy having this label like I have them. 1.14.1. And you see when I bring my mouse down to that, the screen lights up over here. That's the paddock I want. So I click on it. Have the date and the time. So I want to change the date to the 14th, January 14th at 7 a.m. I want these cattle to be moved at 7 a.m. And then it's for 2 hours right here. 2 hours I have it set for. Click Save. Then we'll do the same thing again. I click on the virtual paddock here. I type in 1.14. I get 1.142. That's what I want. It's already all set up. 2 hours, starts moving at 9 a.m., done at 11 a.m. Click Save. Done. Simple enough, right? Very easy and efficient. We really like having these scheduled moves. I mean, you ain't got to worry about it. You can set them up for a long time in advance. I say when in the summertime when we're moving, 6-7 times a day, you can schedule 7 moves in here a day if you wanted to. And you could do multiple days in advance. So we'll just keep moving them here. 114, and we're on paddock number 4. And you can see here we got 114.1, 114.2, 114.3. I'm setting up 114.4 for 2 hours, starting at 1 to 3 o'clock. Hit save. It's all really simple. Once you get the first one set for the day with your time and day, you just hit and save. As long as your intervals are 2 hours or whatever you want to make your intervals. You can adjust your intervals to whatever interval you want. By the hour though, not by the half hour. So then as you go down here, we're going to hit 114-5. That's the last paddock for tomorrow. And as you can see here, 114-5 encompasses this whole area now. Since we made this paddock here for this gateway, it has this whole big area where the other ones did not. So like I say, by tomorrow night at 3 o'clock, them cattle will have that whole area. So we got it set for 2 hours just like in the past. But now I got to click until further notice here. Now that will allow it to start at 3 p.m. on January 14th and end never. So it never ends. If you just leave it on that for 2 hours, it will turn the fence off at 5 o'clock and there ain't no new fence going on. So the cattle would then be able to escape where you want them to be. So you click until further notice and now them cattle are contained in this last paddock until you make another change. I hit save. Just like that, you can see all of our virtual paddocks that we have set up for today and for tomorrow. So right here in these lines, these are today's vertical paddocks for today yet, and these are tomorrow set up right down the line here. And you can go in and edit them, you can delete them, you can adjust them. The only thing you cannot do when you schedule a paddock, you cannot go and adjust the paddock fence and any of them paddocks. So once these paddocks are set with these cattle here, you can't go back in and adjust the vertical paddock size. you would have to delete the scheduled move and then go ahead and adjust the vertical paddock size. So if you want to adjust your vertical paddock for every single move of the day, it's hard to do that by scheduling moves. Scheduling moves we do in the morning or the next prior day just to make it easier. You ain't got to worry about the moves for the rest of the day. And you really get honed in on where they need to be at because we're knowing how many acres we're giving them cattle like per day. We're giving this group particularly 0.3 acres a day. So we know we're going to be pretty close to meet their needs for the day. So we're not moving our paddock lines once we get them set. They're pretty well staying where they're at. If I got to adjust something, I normally cut a move out of the day. Like if we're too far ahead of the cattle, we need to eat that down more where they're at. I'll delete a paddock move for the day. So they're not getting moved that last time in the day. So that makes them eat what they're at longer. Or I can always add a paddock on the end of the day. Like, oh, we're a little short today. I can go in and create another paddock and add it on to the end of the day to say, okay, we allowed them another little bit, another tenth of an acre or something like that for them to eat on overnight. So that's really simple, easy to do. You can see all the cattle right here. We just had a move here at 9 o'clock. You can see the fence went from right here is where the fence is. At 7 it was. And then at 9 o'clock, the fence moves ahead to here. Now, why these are both orange yet, both these lines are orange yet, is because some of the cows still are on this virtual fence because they haven't got the single yet. And why other cows are over on this one already. But you can see here it takes, 10, 15, 20 minutes for the cows to get this single. Right now it is 9:12, so we're only 12 minutes after. These cows could all be in here right now. We don't know. It just takes time for the computer system to recognize where these cows are at. I mean, this is a generalized location of where the animal is at within a 20-minute time frame. So right now, the cows could all be in here eating that new grass. I really don't know on that. But yeah, it's a really simple system. Really great company to work with. This eShepherd from Gallagher. Really good, great company and brand of product here. So I highly recommend getting the eShepherd from Gallagher, and great company to work with. Great tech support. Any issues, they'll fix them for you. So yeah, that's a little bit about how you set up virtual fencing on the computer system side of things. And there's a lot more to this than just that, what I showed you. We could go in really details about a whole bunch of different things. But for today, that's all I'm going to talk about. Don't want to overwhelm everybody at once. So, well, thanks for listening. You guys have a great day.